Greetings friends and welcome to the channel. With the changes in System Update 11 and subsequent SDK improvements, we now have options at our disposal that we didn't have in the past. Now we have the ability to add helipads with starting locations. And even though in the past I made a video on building helipads with start locations, the process I had to use in the past was a bit clunky. So it's time to update that video and replace it with this new video at building a Start Point Helipad at a location I choose. And we will start this process momentarily, but with all of my videos I provide short tutorials for new folks that are coming in and seeing the videos for the very first time. So after I pause for a few minutes of the short tutorials, I will jump in and show you how to build a Start Point Helipad utilizing SDK and Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Greetings and welcome to Patriot 6. I make tutorial videos for scenery building or modifications to scenery in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 utilizing SDK. Different people at different levels of skill see these videos. You may be here because you're curious or you may already know the basics of scenery building. It is impossible for me to know who will click on a video. Because of the broad range of folks that view the videos, I include the basics in each video. This and all new videos will be built in chapters. You can find the chapters of the video in the description below. In addition, you can see the chapters on the video timeline if you want to skip the basic chapters. The processes for building scenery, downloading SDK, and downloading samples is constantly changing. The video that I am redoing at this moment is just a few months old, and I'm already having to make another video. But I will promise you, as long as I'm able to make videos, I will keep my videos up to date. Because it does you no good if I make a video and let it set for several years, walk away, and never update anything. So know that this video is being recorded on November the 28th, 2022. So to build scenery in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, a couple things must occur first. The first step is we have to go into developers mode, and then we must download SDK. And although it's not mandatory that you download the samples, I recommend that you download the samples. If you do not download the samples, then you have to find the samples from other places. So to begin, we're going to go into developers mode. And we'll do that by going to options. And once we're at options, we want to tick on general options. We want to drop down to developers. Tick on, apply and save. And once we're in developers mode, a new menu will appear at the top. In my videos, I refer to this menu as the Dev menu, or sometimes I may call it the Developers menu. But from the Dev menu, go to Help and drop down to SDK Installer Core and tick. And when you do that, your browser will open up and download SDK. And once you have SDK downloaded, you want to double click like any other executable file and start the installation process. And you continue on with the process. Now, since I already have SDK, I'm going to stop the process. Again, on the Dev menu, You want to go up to Help, and you want to drop down to Samples, and you want to download the very first thing you see, Samples. And again, your browser will start to download the samples. And just like before, you want to go to the download, find the executable file, and start the installation. I'm going to tick Next. And when you tick Next, this application will automatically install the samples inside the SDK folder. So let me quickly walk through finding the samples. You want to open the SDK folder. You will see a folder that says Samples. You want to open this folder. And at this point, you will see 3 folders. To get to the sample you're most likely to need, the Simple Scenery folder, you want to open the Dev Mode Projects folder. And then you want to drop down to Sceneries and open. And down here at the bottom, you will find Simple Scenery. I recommend that you make a copy of the Simple Scenery and drop the Simple Scenery into the working folder that you will be using to build scenery. One last thing I would like to mention is when you are in developer's mode, you will see SDK updates on the top right hand of your screen. As long as this button is blue, you are fine. If this button ever turns yellow, it means that the SDK has an update and you need to go grab the update. And getting SDK updates is the same process that I showed you in the installation. And it is very possible that you will still see this as yellow after you update the SDK. And to solve that, you can tick on this button and open up this SDK window and find the refresh button and tick the refresh button. And then the SDK icon at the top right of your screen will no longer be yellow. Let's talk about the developer camera. The developer camera is something that is vital and something that you will use often. And to get to the developer camera, you go up to the developer menu, tick on Camera, and tick on Developer Camera. Operating the developer camera is a lot like operating the drone camera. So I'll show you the keys that we use to operate the developer camera. If we want to drop, we hit the F key. If we want to rise, we hit the R key. If we want to go left, we use the A key. And if we want to go right, we use the D key. If we want to go forward, we use the W key. And if we want to go in reverse, we use the S key. There's also some numerical keys that you can use. On the number pad, the 4 key will spin you, and the 6 key will spin you in the opposite direction. The 8 key will tilt your camera up, and the 2 key will tilt your camera down. Occasionally when you're building scenery, your azimuth will get off. So that's very easy to correct by using the 7 key or the 9 key. And then you can correct your azimuth. You can also use the mouse and freely move around. By holding down the left Alt key and by using your left mouse button, you're able to move anywhere you want to move. Also, you can use the mouse wheel to zoom in or out. Almost always, this is a process I go through. I'll tick on the developer camera. I will drop to the ground using the F key. Then I will use the left Alt key and the left mouse button to make sure I can spin in small areas. That is the fine control of the camera I'm looking for. What I don't want is this. You see what happened there? As soon as I got in and I used my mouse button to move, look how far I am from my aircraft. So again, to the developer camera, drop down with the F key, and with the left Alt key depressed and the left mouse button, make sure you can make minute movements. And now you're good to go and ready to use the developer camera. Let's talk about the tools that we need to build scenery. In most projects, it's very simple. The items which you use to build scenery are typically in your scenery library already. There are exceptions though. If you are bringing a 3D model into the sim, that would be an exception. If you are using the Earth to MSFS tool, that is another exception. And on occasion, you may need a text editor. I will explain the reason for the text editor once I do a video where the text editor is needed. For starters, put a folder on your desktop that you will use as your working scenery folder. I have one here and I will show you what I have in it. All I have in it is a simple scenery folder I downloaded from SDK, and I do have a thumbnail. In the simple scenery folders that you download through this version of SDK, a thumbnail is not mandatory because there is a standard thumbnail within the scenery package. However, on all of my projects, I choose to have a thumbnail, and it's your choice where you want to go with the standard thumbnail in the scenery folder or if you want your own. If you decide you want to make your own thumbnail, the thumbnail has to be the precise dimensions of this thumbnail I use, 412 by 170 pixels. No other size will work. So if you build your own thumbnail, please keep this rule in mind. Welcome back, and I hope you found the short tutorials helpful. Step number 1 is to select a location. I'm selecting a hospital near my home. It's a location that I'm very familiar with. So I'm going to bring up Bing Maps and locate the hospital. The hospital is down here, so I'm going to zoom in. And here is the helipad I will be building. So I'm going to zoom in as close as I can, and I'm going to right click and copy the coordinates. And now I'm going to use a text editor that I spoke of in the tutorials. And with the text editor up, I want to paste the coordinates of the helipad I'm getting ready to add into the text editor. And now with the coordinates pasted, I will move the text editor out of the way, but I will maintain these coordinates because I'm going to need them in a minute. And now in the search bar, I'm going to paste the same coordinates. And now we're zooming to the location. And I'm in the Bell helicopter. And I don't want to be listening to the Bell helicopter while I'm working, so I will move over here and set a departure and zone in to this location. I'm going up to the flight conditions. The live weather is off, and I want to change the time of day to a time where I can see what I'm doing. Around midday works. And now I'm going to fly. And now I'm zoned into the area. Of course, I'm in developers mode, so I'm going up to the dev menu. I'm going to select options and pause the simulation. The reason for the pause is to make sure that the Bell helicopter doesn't continue on and crash in the lake out here in front of us. And now I can press ready to fly. I'm going up to the dev menu. I'm selecting camera and developer camera. And now that I'm in the correct location, I'm going to go up to the dev menu. I'm going to select tools. and Project Editor. And the Project Editor is up along with the inspector. If your inspector does not come up, on the Project Editor menu, you can tick View and tick on Inspector. Now on the Project Editor, I want to select Project and tick on New Project. And now I'm going to give the project a name. And the name of this hospital is TriStar Medical Center. Instead of typing TriStar Medical Center, I'm going to use the initials. TSMC. Now the next step is you want to make sure your path is correct and that the project will be saved in the correct folder. So I'm going to tick on the two dots here and check out the folder. And in doing so, I notice that it is the working scenery folder, and that's where I want this project saved. So I will select this folder. And now I'm ready to create new project. And then the publishing information comes up about the project, and I have no interest in publishing this project. So I'm simply going to tick on Package and then tick Next. And on the wizard selection, I'm going to select Airport. Unfortunately, the SDK still limits where you can place the helipad. The helipad still has to be placed at an airport, so I'm going to make my own fictional airport for this helipad. So I will tick on Airport. And in this display title, I'm going to type the name of the hospital in here. TriStar Medical Center, and then tick Next. And next, the airport creation window comes up. I'm going to select Create an Airport Anywhere. And now I'm going to tick on Generate New ICAO. And the letter A pops up. I'm going to hop in this box and delete the A. I'm going to use the hospital initials as my ICAO code. So I selected TSMC, TriStar Medical Center. Again, the name. Now, whatever you do, do not miss this next step. We have to enter the lat and long into the airport creation window. If you overlook this step, the map location of the airport will be in some random location somewhere on planet Earth. And with the coordinates I have in the text editor, I'm going to copy the latitude and paste the latitude in. And now I'm going to grab the longitude and make sure I copy all of it and paste in the longitude. As best I can tell, the altitude has no bearing on what we are about to build. However, if someone wants to be absolutely precise, you could go into a map, look up the altitude at this particular location. For the purposes of this tutorial, I am going to skip altitude. The next step is to create airport. An airport is created, and if you look at the inspector, you can see what the package name is going to be. It's quite lengthy, and you can see it put in my default company name. And also for the purposes of the content manager, you have the name of the hospital and you have the creator name. The next step I'm going to take is click on the thumbnail and insert my personal thumbnail. And because I build packages often enough, the project editor knows where to go, and it went to the working folder, and here is the thumbnail. Tick on the thumbnail and open. So the next step is to build the initial package. So on the inspector window, I'm going to drop down to build package and tick. The dialog box will pop up as it always does, saying it has indicated changes. I'm going to tick yes and select and allow the package to be built. The initial package is now built, and if I look up here in the top left of the console, I see no additional errors, 0 of 11,075 errors, but no additional errors, so we're good, and I can X out of the console. And now I'm going to drop down on the project editor. I'm going to tick on the package here, reveal the scenery BGL, tick on the scenery BGL, and up on the inspector I'm going to load in editor. And the scenery editor comes up along with the gizmo and the objects. To get the gizmo and the objects, you can go down to the scenery editor view. You can tick on objects and you can tick on gizmo. And once the scenery library loads in, you always want to tick all. And now on the objects window, I'm going to change from scenery to helipad. And once helipad is selected, you will see various options like circle, H for just plain helipad, medical, none, and square. So you decide what you want. What I plan to do for this, I could make this very simple and quick, but I want to dress this helipad up and make it look good. If you want to just plainly add a helipad, you can do that right now. But I want to add some ancillary scenery to the area. So at this time, I'm going to select circle and tick add. And the gizmo is a tool that we use to manipulate our object. Right now I'm in translate. I could go to rotate and turn the object, or I could change the scale of the object. So I'm going to change the scale to try to make this circle the same size of the circle of the real helipad. So rotating between scale, rotate, and translate, I'll move this into place. Also on the scenery editor, I'm going to bring up properties by ticking view and properties. And I've temporarily ticked on transparent. Even though I can still see the object, I'm going to make it transparent to try to make this circle the entire size of the helipad. So I need to be on scale. Okay, that seems to be close. So actually what I'm going to do is use this circle as a template to make a polygon. The things I am doing now, you do not have to do these, but this is something I want to do to make this helipad look good. And now I'm going up to the objects window and I'm going to swap from helipad to polygon. And it will take a minute to build a polygon, but I'm going to build a polygon around this area. And now with the polygon complete, I'm going to bring up the material editor and I want to select a material to go inside this polygon. The material I selected is gravel 01, and you can mess around with the tiling and get the gravel the size you want. I'm going to zoom in for a better look. and I think this will work fine. And if you build a polygon and do what I did, and if you get a little sloppy in some areas, you can go in and move some of the polygon nodes by ticking on the nodes. So I'm going to quickly clean up some of this area. And now that I'm through with the template, I'm going to tick on the helipad. You can tick on the helipad as I just did, or you can go over to the scenery editor and tick on it. And I'm going to delete. And now on the objects window, I'm going back to helipad. And now I'm going to place a medical helipad in here. And the whole exercise of me needing a template is because any ground texture that you put in will cover up the helipad. So regardless of what I put in here, I will have a circle in the middle. So that's the reason that I used a template. And obviously this is way too big. So on the gizmo, I'm going to change to scale. Back to translate and move. Get an idea of how I need to orientate this. And now that I have what I'm looking for in terms of size, we do see for me to get the size to my liking here, it's too large around the edges. So I'm going to tick on transparent. And that looks better. Now again, I want to tick on the helipad. And with the helipad selected and on the properties window, I'm going to add a start. And we can see the direction the helicopter will be sitting when we start here. And to me, that does not seem correct. It seems to me that the helicopter should be setting in this direction so you have access to the side. So on the headings, I'm going to play around to find the heading I'm looking for. (295° seems relatively close. And if I zoom in real life, you'll see that this helipad has hedges around it. So I'm going to find a bush and place bushes around it. So on the objects window, I'm going to change from helipad to scenery. I'm going to tick all, and now on scenery, I'm going to type in bush and search my scenery library for bushes. And I may have to play around and find a bush. Bush 01 looks pretty good, but for me it's a little large. So down on the gizmo, I'm going to change the scale. And 0.75 looks better to me. And now with the bush the size that I think it looks best, 0.75, I'm going up to the objects window. I'm going to change the default scale from 1 to 0.75. And then I'm going to tick on one-click placing, and this should allow me to quickly place bushes at 0.75 scale. This makes me proud that I'm not the landscaper of the hospital. Now, there's another thing that I notice in the imagery here, and it is light post. You can see the shadows. So let's add some light post. And I will go up to the objects window while still in scenery and type in lamp. And now I'm rolling down and looking for a single bulb lamp. Before I add lamps, it's probably a good idea now to save the scenery. I've yet to do that. On the scenery editor, I want to save the scenery. And now I'm going to reduce the daylight to where it's not dark, but dark enough the lights come on. I can still see everything I need to see, but yet the lights are on. So I'm going to select Type 4 Single. And see how it's orientated. I guess the fact there's lights out here means that helicopter pilots are very skilled. On the gizmo, I want to rotate this lamp. And I'm going to use this orientation and duplicate. And to duplicate, I'm going down on the scenery editor and find duplicate. The imagery shows one here that looks a little close to me, so I'm going to deviate a bit from the imagery. And I'll just add a few more while I'm here. Won't hurt anything. This is a quad, so I'll add some quads. Now again, I'm going to save the scenery. I do know in my scenery library are helipad lights. To be truthful, I'm not knowledgeable on what colors you should use. So those of you that build your own helipads that are more educated than I am on the light colors, you use the colors that you want. But for me, I'm just going to add blue and red. That seems okay. And the helipad lights come from a package at flightsim.to. Also with this package are various helipads. It is a nice group of helipads, so I will place a link to this mod in the description below, but I'm going to type in GBZ to get to the objects. You'll notice that I am only pulling up the GBZ objects from the mod I got on FlightSim.to. And if you wanted to use these helipads, you have a lot of different flavors and they're very nice, to be honest. Here are the lights, so I'm going to add a light. I want to get close enough that I can see the light and properly orientate it. I want to make sure the properties are up, so again, down on the scenery editor, I'm going to tick on properties, and I'm going to tick off a snap to ground so that I can move the light up and down and see what the best fit is. Now with snap to ground off, I will move it up and down. And according to the image, there appears to be lights around here, so I'm going to add some green lights. Again, it actually appears snap to ground is the best option, so I will leave snap to ground on. The trick is for me to proportion these out correctly. I need lots of luck for this one. Maybe if I break it in quarters, it will work out. Again, I'm going to save the scenery. And I'm going to turn the daylight back up. Doesn't appear to be a tripping hazard to me, so I'm okay with it. Just some small fine tuning. Once again, save the scenery. And I could continue on with this all night long, and that is a fact. I could add cars and lots of other scenery, but this is a tutorial and there's no need to do that. So at this point, I believe I will stop with this and we'll see what we have. So again, make sure the scenery is saved. And with the scenery saved, I'm going to the project editor. I'm going to tick off of Scenery BGL and tick on the package. The inspector lights up and the build package option is available, and that means I'm where I need to be, so I'm going to build the package. The package is complete, and I look up here and there are no more errors, so I can exit out of the console. The package is built, the scenery is saved, and now I can turn the tools off. And now I'm going to bring the working scenery folder up. And I'm also going to bring the community folder up, but you can see the scenery folder I just created, TSMC, TriStar Medical Center. And here is the community folder. So I want to open up TriStar Medical Center. I want to find the packages folder and open. And here is the package. I want to tick on the package and copy. Select the community folder and paste the package into the folder. And the package is now in the folder. And for us to see everything, I need to restart the sim, and I will do that. The sim is restarted. If you're new to building scenery, you might wonder why I restarted the flight simulator. The reason I shut the simulator down and restarted the simulator is because the community folder is loaded up in your initial load. So had I not restarted the simulator, it wouldn't have picked up the package that I put in the community folder. But now it's restarted and the package should be in. We can always test it. I'll go to the marketplace, and then I'll select the content manager, and then I'll type something in that's in the package. I typed in TSMC, and there you see TriStar Medical Center, so we know the package is loaded in the community folder. Let's go down and find the new helipad. We can see it here in Smyrna, Tennessee, and now we have selected TriStar Medical Center as our start location, so I'm going to change the time of day back to midday, and let's fly and see what happens. And now I'm going to fly, and I'm going to use a developer camera to look around. Everything seems to be there. For some reason, it's not as smooth as it was when I built it. I'm not sure what that is. But outside of the jagged edges, it looks pretty good. Again, you saw me do it. It didn't look like that before, so I don't know why. It may be something I explore at a later date. But the fact of the matter is we were able to build a starting point helipad here and dress it up a bit, and let's see what it looks like during the night. And even though I'm disappointed with how the texture turned out, I think overall it is a success. I didn't make a dry run to see if this was going to work out as I planned. Perhaps if I had, I would have known this might happen. In terms of the video, I believe this is mission accomplished. And that will conclude this tutorial. I certainly hope you got something from it. I will pin some things in the description below. I will pin my channel address. I do have a scenery Facebook page. I will pin that below. I will also pin the helipad mod that I got from FlightSimTO, and I will also have the chapters of this video in the description below. And again, thank you for watching Patriot 6. If you're new to the channel and never watched me before, I would appreciate a subscribe. I do make videos as often as necessary, and I also go to great lengths to make sure my videos are up to date. You may find older videos that I've made, but anytime something significantly changes in SDK or in the process, I always make a follow-up video up to date, and that you can rest assured. So again, this is Patriot 6 signing out, and I hope to see you soon.